Greetings, you magnificent mortals. It is I, once again, Mr. Commentator Man, person, thing, Radish. Also known as Nukeshot Zokyo, but let's ignore that. Welcome to Dynamic Racing Leagues once again here on YouTube. We're coming to you live from Brands Hatch on the GP circuit, or the former GP circuit at least, due to the fact it's no longer, of course, host of the British Grand Prix. You can see we've got a decent turnout yet again of cars. Hopefully going to be an interesting race ahead of us. Of course, this is a circuit that DRL drivers are very, very familiar with, and with quite a few Brits on the grid as well. Some home crowd favourites as well. Already King of Talk, I can tell you tuning into the stream because you're typing in the lobby chat. Fantastic. Things are going so well already. So of course, this is round 5 of the DRL GP Championship. Of course, at Brands Hatch, as previously mentioned. This isn't qualifying as of yet, this is just the warm-up practice. Here is King of Talk at the moment. They're just going for a bit of a warm-up at the moment. You can see they've got the hazards on, they're going quite slow. Oh, they've gone into the pits again. So this is Wybear of Scuderia Nukeshot making his way around. A lot of these guys haven't set laps yet, perhaps not trying to give any of the other cars a psychological advantage as King makes his way back out of the pits. Of course, last time out it was, I'm just going to quickly check, Ayrton Spenner, I believe, who took the pole and the win according to Thread, so that must have been what happened, with Nils second, King of Talk third. So it's going to be another interesting showing. Who else do we have on the grid today? We have Brandon, the person who was formerly joining me in the commentary booth, has now decided, you know what, I kind of like this whole racing thing a little bit more than chilling with the Radish in the booth. I mean, it's not like I haven't showered or anything today, but it's, I mean, okay, maybe there's a slight issue, but never mind. Maybe this is why I can't keep having co-commentators and such, that all just leaving me. Sad times. But nevertheless, Brandon, he is making his way through the second sector. Very short second sector, actually, just looking at it on the map. 3/10 down on his own personal best. Some others we have featuring teammate, it would seem, of Brandon, Roland Jupiter. So the dynamic duo are back. Hypersport TF, as they are listed on the thread, of course. Hyper Racing, very well-known team around these parts these days, it has to be said. They see NS Rhino as well for Foxcatcher. Has been having a bit of a troublesome time at the moment, or in the last few races, but has actually come up with a statement saying that Brands Hatch should be a circuit that favours the McLaren a lot more. So we should be able to see a bit more fighting, hopefully, from the American. As there are yellow flags in Sector 4, and I'm not sure who it is. Let's go on board and see. That's a Scuderia Nukeshot car, I believe it's Nils. So of course, yep, there is Nils. Scuderia Nukeshot still at the top of the team standings, and Nils second in the drivers by with a 10-point gap. So interesting to see how that develops as qualifying is about to go live here. Nils will be the first car leading us out. be sure to do the onboard lap as we usually do. I'll just keep the things up there. The graphics for qualifying, we'll have them switched off for the race. Thanks to all the viewers already who are tuning in to the stream. Hope you're enjoying it as much as I am. And Brandon, no, you do not have any sort of status. Ignore what that sound was in the background does. Me hitting my hand on the desk for some stupid reason. Rhino also in chat. Okay, this apparently is favouring him as a driver rather than the McLaren itself. But then again, the McLaren should be a decent car, especially in this forest section that Nils is going through now. The Ferrari also mid-engined. Well, some other guys, current championship leader Dynamic Carbon in the BMW M6, they're making their way through. But we're going to go on board here with Nils as he takes us through a lap of Brands Hatch GP circuit. So, a bit of an uphill as you make your way to the turn of Paddock Hill bend. Very, very tricky and notorious elevation change. Nils just about manages to hook that up right, and then the Druid's hairpin, the slowest corner on the circuit. Have to be very patient on the throttle. The uphill braking zone certainly allows for late braking moves. Then Graham Hill bend, reprofiled a little bit since the classic Grand Prix days. And making your way on to this back straight, which is the longest straight on the circuit, not overly long, so, and also this next corner here, you can see this very high speed right-hander is very tricky to go side by side in, but we have seen it before. Then you come to the forest section where it's all about rhythm. It's a very narrow circuit, sheen curve, and heading back on towards the Indy circuit. Very nice lap by Nils so far. Under the Advan Bridge, going onto the Indy circuit here. And very undulating as you go onto the curve, start-finish straight to complete a lap here at Brands Hatch. What's it going to be for Nils? It's the 123.6, eclipsed immediately by King of Torque with a 123.2. Oh, sideways stuff. And eclipsed again by the BMW M6 of Dynamic Carbon, 6/10 clear with a 122.6. So a very strong lap from the Irishman. Brandon about to come across the line, can only manage 4th. Roland manages 5th at the moment. Rhino 6th, and Y-Bear yet to set a lap. This is their first one out. So Carbon at the top of the standings, running in a fair bit of clean air. The M6 has been good here in the past. Of course, it did help myself to a victory in the Season 1 DTM Championship. First victory I had for a very long time. So again, it's proven to be a very strong car. Making his way round. It also looks like King is backing off in the background there, so he's concerned about catching Nils a bit too soon. Nils, will he be able to improve on his time? It's going to be close. He can't by 14 thousandths. King, of course, can't. Carbon does with a 122.481. That's a very strong time there, but we should be seeing some even faster times a little bit later on in the session. Brandon moves up to 3rd with a 123.574. That puts them ahead of Nils. So impressive stuff there. Y-Bear on their first timed lap with a 124.486. They move up to 6th and displace Rhino. Goofy Blitz in the chat. supporting the American driver here. His car's already a little bit battered and bruised, it seems, so he might have had enough. Making his way down to Graham Hill Bend. There's a bit of an off as well. By someone, Roland, look at this time from Roland, faster than King. That's a 122.7. So Roland is absolutely flying at the moment. Based on what we saw in the placement test of the NES, they have certainly improved a lot since the Super Formula times. Perhaps these GT cars suiting the fair bit better than the high downforce stuff. Also, it would seem that Hyper Racing is running together pretty much at the moment, as there's a spin. That's Y-Bear. We can't quite catch that on a replay because it's on practice session. Oh, we caught that one though. That was Rhino going off. So Y-Bear and Rhino both spinning at the same point. Oh, that is quite a lag fest going on there for Rhino. Hope that clears up sooner rather than later. So Carbon couldn't improve on that last lap. It's 15 minutes of a session, as regular viewers may know. It's an Irish 1 and 2 at the moment at the British circuit. Aston Martin is looking very strong in the hands of Roland, you know. King hasn't quite managed to put a lap together since their initial one. Perhaps on one now. Oh, no, not now. Look at that, fishtailing. Got sheen curve just a bit wrong. Couldn't quite hold on to it, as there was another off, it seemed, as... Oh my life, Rhino is actually warping and has disconnected. I'm not surprised. The connection extremely dire there. King of Torque still in the gravel. Exclaiming in the lobby chat that he doesn't like this track in particular, as there's another off, it would seem. That's Brandon, who went off at Paddock Hill, although they have improved up to third at the moment. So Brandon's actually faster than King of Torque at this point, despite going for a bit of a rallycross trip. King really needs to cement himself a solid lap at this point, because he's a lot further down the order than we would expect. So too Nils. Nils has had a very strong season so far, second in the Drivers' Championship, and they're currently down in 5th. In fact, both Nuke Shoddy Ferraris are at the back of proceedings, so perhaps it isn't a circuit favouring the Ferraris that much. We have another off, that's Roland. Roland's picked up damage with that. Going through the forest section. Oh! Brandon as well, very close to losing it, as these guys are pushing so much going through the forest section. It is so narrow, and you have to judge your apex as absolutely perfect. More rally crossing between the two teammates. Brandon probably going to have to pit in for repairs. We've got about 6 minutes left in the session. Both Astons actually going in for repairs. Oh, both were damaged. That would explain a fair bit. King of Torque, they finally get a lap in. It's a 123.008, and that puts them third at the moment, so splitting the two Hypersport Aston Martins. And they're 2/10 green in Sector 1. So we could be seeing another improvement here. Carbon, meanwhile, still sitting pretty at the moment with that 122.286. No one seems to have come close just yet to this kind of pace, although he's oversteering in Druids. I don't know what's going on here. So many cars just slipping and sliding. Are there marbles on the apex or something? It's a very odd thing. King having to absolutely nail it. We're on board. Going through Sheen, and there you see just clipping the outside, trying to get as much of a wide entry as possible. Couldn't quite do it. You have to be very reserved in certain sections of the track, like Sheen Curve, otherwise you will probably overcook it. King showing, despite his experience, how easy it is to do so. He's really running out of time as well in the session. He's not picked up damage, he is going into the pits. Rhino has rejoined the lobby, so hopefully his internet will be sorted and be ready to roll. Now Carbon, he's making his way through. This won't be an improvement, but he might be setting himself up for a new lap. There's Roland on track. Roland is making their way through Graham Hill Bend. King of Torque just going through Druids. Brandon on the straight in the middle of the circuit, and the Ferraris. Nils surprisingly actually getting a fair bit closer to Brandon, 28 thousandths. But it isn't looking like those Ferraris are going to be able to do much better than that. White Bear also suffering from a bit of a lack of stability. I think everyone is at this particular circuit. The width and the grass are certainly catching a lot of people out as they try and push to their absolute limit. There you see Rhino has indeed rejoined the circuit. He will have time to put in a couple laps, but not too many. Carbon making their way up through the final sector. Looked like they backed out of it a little bit as there's a car ahead of them. It was Wybear. Let's just see where the Ferraris are actually struggling in terms of pace. Gonna go on board here with White Bear for a little bit, making their way through, and just can't get the car turned. So a bit of desperation here as there's another car off. That is Rhino. So Rhino actually having to go back to the pits, and that's going to be cutting it really close in terms of whether they get a lap in. Still Carbon with his experience at the top of the standings. So car 24 looking very solid, and unlike quite a lot of people, actually seeing some consistency from them. In fact, them and Roland seem to be the only two people at the moment that are able to run quite consistently. So Roland's doing a very good job at the moment on their return. King is going green in the second sector, or the third sector rather. They are catching a car, as I'm going to have to make the call shortly for the flag. I do have a keyboard, I just don't know why I choose not to use it. 7, 8, and that is it. That's going to be it. King of Torque making their way through. 15 minutes are up. What's the time going to be from King? Not quite enough to improve. And that means it's third at maximum for King of Talk, as Nils sliding about, only 36 thousandths off of King's time. Roland, they seem to have stopped their lap. Carbon is also not on a lap. Brandon, neither, so there is a car somewhere going around. Wybear didn't improve. So it's just the cars making their way around at this point. So here are your results from qualifying. It's Dynamic Carbon, as you can see, looking at the best lap as opposed to the position, with the fastest time of all with a 122.286. Second fastest, quite a surprise. The only other driver to get into the 122s is Roland, so very solid stuff from both of the Irishmen in qualifying. Just hope that they can carry that over to the race. Perhaps Roland be able to challenge Carbon off the line. King of Talk, not the kind of qualifying that we would have expected from them to be that far off of the pace of Carbon in particular. But nevertheless, that is how it went. Couldn't quite break into the 122s. Although usually we hardly ever see them for qualifying. So it's better than starting at the back of the grid, King will probably be thinking. And we know his racecraft is strong. In the end of things, it was Nils managing to get ahead of Brandon, so Nils will be starting from 4th on the grid with a 123.044, not that far off of King's time actually. In fact, 3rd, 4th and 5th, all very close. So you can see they're listed 2nd, 3rd and 4th at the moment. It'll be Wybear, who qualifies 6th, and if his internet does hold out, it will be Rhino, who will be starting at the back of the grid in 7th. So again, it seems that Rhino had to leave and rejoin. Some sliding going on at the moment. On board with King of Talk, just doing some donuts. Car 86 from this angle, 98 as the actual number, of course. Yeah, making their way around, just doing some burnouts for the crowd. Despite the fact that most of the crowd probably can't see them from here because they're at the top of the hill. So once again we go into the usual break period, so I'm going to list off the current standings. And the drivers, it is Dynamic Carbon leading with 58 points from Nils, who's 10 points behind on 48. King of Talk, the guy we're currently watching, they're currently 3rd on 34 points, as is Ernst Spanner, last time's winner. They're on 34 points as well. So 5th is Wybear, so they're on 32 points. Tetsu Kobura, who was very strong at the early part of the season, haven't really seen them much since then. They are on 30 points, as well as Sailor, who is also on 30 points. And that is both of those in 6th. In 8th is Rhino on 21 points. John Wandering on 12 points, who unfortunately couldn't be here today, and Gugas also in 9th with 12 points. The Teams Championships, Scuderia Nuke Shari, big up. They are on 92 points and currently leading the standings by a healthy 22-point margin from Dynamic Esports in 2nd on 70. Team Black Diamond Esports, they are on 64 points and in third in the standings. Got quite a gap over Grip Runners Motorsport Racing in fourth. Well, they're on 34 points, so a 30-point gap there. On 30 points, we have Checkered Flag Motorsports. That is the team that Tetsu drives for. They are on 30 points. Foxcatcher Racing on 23 points. They are 6th in the standings. LK Racing no longer around, unfortunately, but they are classified as on 8 points. And Audi Sport Team RL, the team that Felix drove for, they are on 6 points. And that is your weekly championship standings update, brought to you by my mixtape. I don't know. See if we can find some different cameras. There's some cars. Who's that? That's Brandon, the guy who left me in the commentary booth by myself. All around me a familiar face. Well, no, actually, because there's no one here. That's even worse now that I think about it. Great. And this is true. King of Talk is indeed a one-car team, as he notes in chat. So the team standing is actually quite strong, considering that. I believe the teams that are ahead of him are all two-car teams. Team Black Diamond, are they a two-car team? I can't remember. No, only Sailors listed. I think they have a sub, which is, of course, Ayrton Spanner. And that's technically a one-car team, not a one-person team. But still, very solid effort, it has to be said, from King of Talk, with that standing result of 4th at the moment. No doubt Bandit is pleased with that, but will be probably wanting a top 3 by the end of the season. And it does say here at the moment that King of Talk is registered for the standings. Just addressing those in chat, all those quite frankly peasants. Let's be honest here, lads. If I was actually paid with cash, I might treat the viewers with a bit more respect. But I'm not. I'm still unemployed, living at home, and dying inside. But we should at least be getting a race underway shortly. Its break period should be coming to a close as soon as possible. It is currently 8:23 p.m. I shall quickly check to see what it says on the schedule. The race should start in about 1 minute now, as we go to 8:24. Again, thanks to all of those who are tuning in to Dynamic Racing Leagues yet again. It is an interesting experience, to say the least, being a commentator, not a racer. But I hope that you are all enjoying the content that we are putting out at the moment, as the season continues to develop, and hopefully the interest shall continue to grow until we reach unprecedented levels of popularity and majestic chinnery. Worries in Aston Martin. Brandon, just shut up. Can't be dealing with this. Oh dear. King of Talk at least driving around, giving us something to watch at the moment. Really worn those rear tyres out due to the burnouts he was doing earlier. Also all over the grass again. I was just trying to find his consistency through the forest section. I'm really surprised by how many people are being caught out by that. I might have sort of entered the race myself and showed all you fools how it's done, but apparently, due to contract, I cannot. Someone's got to be here, especially now that Brandon's bailed. Oh, there we go. King of Torque trying to do the Tokyo Drifter, but failed. Now trying to get back up the hill. And has parked up again. Yellow flags being shown. Oh, Wybear in the gravel trap. There they are. Car 99. Qualified 6th, I believe. Still got a bit of pace to find. The Ferraris are really struggling at the moment. Hopefully their race pace is a fair bit better than their qualifying pace, otherwise someone's going to get fired by me. King of Torque referring to himself as Spinderella, fair enough. Oh, Brandon has got quite severe damage, it would seem, on their car. Engine, front aero and front right suspension. That's going to take the team quite a while to fix before the race. So the budget already being tested for Hyper Sport. Of course, they do have a bit of a mountain to climb, do the Hyper Sport Aston Martin crew, being a new team from this race onwards, I believe, this season. Although I will double check that, because Roland might have actually raced on his own for a little bit. Wow, the roasting in the lobby chat. Unbelievable scenes right there. Indeed, this would be the first race for Hyper Sport. So, best of luck to them. Hopefully they manage to get that damage repaired. Who's this that we're watching? Nils! Oh my life, Nils, what on earth are you doing there? You've damaged the car, fantastic. You're paying for that. Ah, filler. Don't you just love it? Meanwhile, this peasant in the pits, our pole sitter for today, Dynamic Carbon. Of course, with a very clear margin as well. So, oh, there you see Jack Wilkinson in the bottom right of your screen. No idea what he's taking a picture of. Jack, the car is the other way. Oh, there's another Jack Wilkinson a bit further up as well. So many Jack Wilkinson clones here at Brands Hatch. It's unbelievable scenes. Big up, of course. I'm hearing some more donuts going off at the moment. Yep. What a surprise. It's King of Torque. Rhino seems to have disconnected from the lobby again, so unfortunately that means more than likely no Foxcatcher Racing McLaren. Which is very much a shame, actually, considering this was one of Rhino's stronger circuits based on what he said. Just that his internet, it's not a strong circuit for his internet provider by any means. So, sad times. You see Nils as well on the cam. Something tells me the Ferraris are going to be very, very difficult to control in that forest section come the race, but we'll see. We'll see. No excuses if you don't win, Nils. Yep, can we have some S in the chat for Rhino and his internet? I shall start them off. They have a rough gauge of the delay on the stream. Speaking of delays, King of Talk has officially announced that he is growing facial hair due to the delay of this particular start. Unbelievable scenes. Might need to shave that off. You know, a few grams of ballast that you could potentially remove. Just a bit of advice here, lad, especially considering you're qualifying. Everyone's just parked up. We're hearing from the grandstand that people are leaving the circuit. People asking for refunds. That's the first time I've asked for Fs in the chat and people have actually responded. Madness. I don't even know what the delay is for. Is there another competitor on their way or something? Someone might have been contacted on Discord. Now Wirebear is going around the circuit, practicing a bit on the forest section or just cruising around, doing the British speed limit of around 70 miles an hour or so. Discord is being checked by myself right now. Oh great, I've got 5 notifications from some peasants. Oh great. Great. So much peasantry going off in Discord right now. Joe, if you're watching the stream, which I don't know why you would be, but if you are, first of all, hi. Second of all, I'll get to checking what James's best lap was from that round after all of this. Okay, back to YouTube. Rhino, you probably just send the stream completely insane as well if you was here, unfortunately. No offense. Oh, it's Roland that we're waiting for. Right. Apparently. So, this peasant needs to get back. It's like the only car on track right now that doesn't have damage, because he's just not been doing anything. Leave your guesses in chat as to where you think Roland is. Where he is, what he's doing. Wow. Oh wait, it even said in the lobby chat I just read, he is consuming the matter, or having food. The memes are coming out. Fantastic. How on earth is it racist that you have bad internet? I have no idea. Connectionist? Maybe? But eh. What? Great. I don't even know any songs, fam. I can try and recite Man's Not Hot a bit. I just need to get the beat going. But my other phone's all the way over there. 8:40 at the latest. Oh, great. We'll be right back after this commercial break here on Dynamic Racing Leagues, home of the DRL GT Championship. Have you had an accident at work that wasn't your fault? Because Roland probably has, and that's why he isn't here right now, but... Great. Have you claimed on your payment protection insurance? There are still hundreds of billions of trillions of millions of gazillions of people that still haven't, despite the fact that those numbers don't exist in human population at the moment. Loft insulation, let's talk about that. Yeah, save on your heating by having loft insulation and double glazing, triple glazing, quadruple glazing. In other news, Nils has completely destroyed his car, and okay, admittedly this will probably come out of my pocket, so I'm probably gonna have to pay for the repairs for that car. But I feel so bad for the mechanics. I mean, look at him, he's just fooling about. I don't know why I've employed him. I'm not playing Little T on the stream, Carbon. I'm not putting road rage on. This is a family-friendly stream. Oh my life. I mean, you can't even spell, Rhino, so why would I let you in the booth? Commentor. Disappointed in you. Wait, hold up, Rhino, you're back in the lobby. If you're back in the lobby, why don't you try racing again? Just to see how it goes. I mean, it's not like you can't just get back on track. I think. Absolute peasantry. That's what this is. Someone better post a timestamp when this stream's over saying when the actual race starts. Just saying, Carbon, you should do that. King of Talk also showing us that he can't spell. Carbon, I'm not a DJ. I'm a commentator, there's a difference. And I've locked the booth door with like 15 different padlocks, Rhino, so good luck trying to break in. Nils again spinning around, move out of his way and give him the victory, please. Boss, please, can he have a victory, please? Oh my life, the flag. Ah, I'm getting epilepsy from the flag. I do apologise, viewers, but it is kind of funny. Like, whose idea was it to put a camera right there? Does the flag marshal not even know that the camera's there? Roland's left. After all of this, Roland has left. Great. Even his PS4 gave up on life because of the delays. Like, is this even a racing channel anymore? Or is it just a banter with Radish channel? I should start a podcast where I just roast things. I don't know. That'd be funny. Leave a like if you think that would be funny. Leave a like anyway, because it helps my self-esteem. I have problems. It's only half a joke. King of Talk. That's not King of Talk. What? Why is he King? Nils is over here. So the King of Talk cam showed Nils closer, and the Nils cam. I don't even know. Jack Wilkinson's even fed up of this. It looks like we're finally getting things started. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Again, don't at me, peasants. Here we go. Racing. This is what the channel is about. Let's get this party started. Watch there be a red flag after turn 1. A restart. But let's hope not. Anyway, it's Dynamic Racing Leagues. It's the GT Championship. It's Dynamic Carbon on pole with King of Torque in second, Nils in third. So what we was thinking with Roland and his extremely good qualifying performance, all in vain as he has to leave or just disconnect or something. But we still have 6 cars here, and it should still be an interesting race. It's a rolling start. As you can see, they're making their way up through the final corner. We're about to go green here. 3, 2, 1. Green, 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 and the cars are off. Everyone's spaced out enough so there shouldn't be a move going into turn 1. Dynamic Carbon retains the lead quite solidly. The cars make their way through Paddock Hill Bend and into Druids. For the first time, it looks like Wyberg running a little bit wide, mid-corner. Roland has actually rejoined the lobby. So of all times to return, unbelievable scenes. But look at this, King's actually managing to keep up with Carbon now. And on the straight is well into the slipstream range already. This could be the first overtake of the race already, could it? It's a very tricky corner though to overtake. And indeed, King does have to just stay behind at the moment. And now the infamous forest section that we have seen so many people get wrong. Carbon pretty much being the only car to not. So they're making their way through Sheen Curve. Everyone seems to be fine at the moment. King, oh, bit of oversteer. But he seems to be holding on to it for now. There he is, King of Torque. Currently second. Still just able to stick with Carbon. A bit further back, Nils battling with Brandon. So they come over the line to complete lap 1. Oh, and Nils loses it, and they're into the barrier. We're gonna have to see a replay of that one. So this is an onboard shot of Nils. It just seemed to run a bit wide up Paddock Hill Bend. Easy done, just carrying far too much speed, and then the tank slapper sending him into the barrier. Very lucky to avoid getting damage on that occasion. That has put Brandon ahead of them. And Wyberg is also in hot pursuit as well, a bit further back. Here you see the Scuderia and Nuke Shoddy cars running together at the moment, but at the front of the field, it's still King of Torque chasing down Dynamic Carbon, right on their limits, making their way up towards the Indy circuit again to complete lap 2. And it is good to see that Rhino did indeed make it onto the circuit and isn't lagging at the moment from what I'm seeing on the mini-map. Carbon with a 122.5, considering he's not had slipstream because he's been running out front. That is very solid pace from him. You got to think, if he manages to break the slipstream King's getting, it might be him getting a home and dry victory. He's purple again in sector 1. Brandon also starting to gap Nils a little bit. There you see Wyberg as well, starting to lose a little bit of ground. That is the corner that he's particularly been struggling with from what I recall on the replays. Meanwhile, again, King closing down on the straight with the slipstream. The BMW strong point always been its downforce, whereas the Mercedes probably more so the mechanical grip. So the Merc should be, in theory, faster on the slower corners, whereas in the forest section, the BMW has the advantage. Field's starting to spread out already a little bit. Josh Quinn in the chat, I believe that's Roland, apologising for being late, apologising to a teammate for letting him down. No need to worry about that. What's done is done as far as I'm concerned. And I hope to see you out for the next race in a week's time, Roland. Also hope that you stay for the stream. Of course, it was an extremely impressive qualifying performance we saw from you as well, so I was really looking forward to seeing what you could do in these GT3 machines. But unfortunately it wasn't to be for today. Going on board with King of Torque. You see his last lap was a 122.417. It's the fastest lap of the race at this point. He has had the slipstream, and you can see he's really closing up to the back of Carbon. It's so difficult to actually pick your lines and apex points, your turn-in points, when you are following a car behind like this. And he's gone onto the grass, manages to keep the steering straight and avoid spinning, although the dirt on the tyres will have certainly helped in that slide and lost him grip. And now he has lost the slipstream of Carbon. So just one little slip up and Carbon is already shooting off. So King does have a fair bit of work to do. It seems the Mercedes is slightly faster on the straights than that M6. Perhaps a little bit more of an aerodynamic car. The BMW is built like a brick. Imagine living in a house made of BMWs. That'd be quite something. Plenty of exit curb took by King, and in fact King has already closed up that gap again, so running in a bit of a cleaner air as he dropped back seemed to help. A little bit of a twitch from Carbon. This is a YouTube stream, not a Twitch stream, so less of that please. Going on to the straight again. It's extremely fast right-hander. I should probably know what it's called. It's an absolutely fantastic corner, but absolutely terrifying as well with how narrow it gets. It would seem like Nils is pulling a gap from Wybear, who's in turn pulling a gap from Brandon, who is in turn pulling a gap from Rhino. So all those guys at the back pretty much separating, but at the front of proceedings it is still King of Torque and Dynamic Carbon. These two, of course, former teammates. They've seen plenty of scraps between these two in the past. Contrasting lines a little bit as they made their way through Paddock Hill. And the Mercedes seems to close up a little bit going through that slow speed section of Druids. Oh! Massive slide from King of Torque! And somehow we managed to keep that from spinning or hitting a barrier. We're gonna see this on a replay. So on board with King of Torque, we just seem to probably just run a bit too wide, and yep, clip the grass. Very well held, has to be said, from that kind of an incident. But again, that inconsistency is costing him time. It is a circuit where consistency is absolutely key. And of course, Josh, all the best for the future. Of course, it should be a strong car as well. I don't think the teams that we've seen in DTM in previous seasons have managed to extract the full potential from it. You seem to be one of the faster drivers to drive it, so all the best. Nils, 7 seconds back from King of Torque, 9 seconds back from Carbon. So that Ferrari is actually doing still not great, but is managing to get a podium position place at this stage, and in fact that's backed up by the fact that Wybear is in 4th. They're a little bit down on their teammate, 4.5 seconds or so. Nevertheless, they are still going. Was Jack Wilkinson laying down when he caught that camera shot there. Being ran over. Unbelievable commitment from our cameraman. There you see Brandon, your teammate Josh. So last lap was a 124.1 and he's only 19, nearly 20 seconds off the pace. Still a lot of race to go though, and he might be preserving his tyres a bit better than some of the cars ahead of him. Rhino seems to be struggling a fair bit. Have they picked up damage? No. Just seeming to have a bit of a slide or something. Going for a replay, seeing what it was. Just running way too wide. Carrying far too much speed was Rhino. Didn't loop it. It was more of an understeer off than an oversteer one. Charging around again. Purple in sector 1 goes Dynamic Carbon. So seeming to have the edge on the Mercedes through there at the moment. King of Torque still with a lot of work to do. It's a track that overtaking can be a bit sparse at times, especially through the forest section. Most of your overtaking gets done on the Indy loop, unless you can get alongside a car on that back straight, of course, but it's pretty much single file as you make your way through these high-speed angular corners. There you see him flipping the curb, not running too wide on that occasion. Still just there, putting the pressure on Carbon, although Carbon, as I have been saying, has been extremely impressive so far with just how consistent they've been throughout qualifying and so far in this race. 43 laps, of course, if you haven't noticed on that graphic. A new fastest lap from King of Torque. It's a 122.304 as you just saw. They're still charging their way around. It just takes one little slip up from Carbon and it'll be King ahead and the roles reversed. Taking a bit of a wider entry was Carbon going through that little section. Did run onto the marbles a bit, didn't seem to hinder him. Jack Wilkinson stood at the side there. How many Jack Wilkinsons in the world are there? No onion barges yet, either. All seems to be just single car incidents. So the racing's been fair, but not particularly racing in the sense of two cars being side by side. King reeling in Carbon again. Just gonna do a quick... There you see it. Carbon significantly keeping his tyres in better condition, of course, not having to run in the dirty air, keeping them from overheating, and of course not relying as much on the mechanical grip. It is the mechanical grip that tends to wear the tyres more than the downforce based grip, at least from what I recall. But here you can see King right on the back of Carbon again, closes up so much through the Indy loop, and this could be a run here because he's getting very close. I don't think it's going to be close enough to challenge yet. He has to stay patient, and this is where he's going to lose a lot of time following this close. Although look at this, he's going for the outside. How on earth? And he manages to get it to work. How on earth did he manage that? What was that? We're gonna go on board for this. Let's have a look at this again. King of Torque. Certainly not a place you overtake. Certainly not a place that you risk it. That was a fantastic move. It caught Carbon off guard, caused him to slide a little bit, and now it's King of Torque who is up into the lead of this race. Not a mistake from Carbon that caused that. That was a very opportunistic move from King, and now he'll be trying to do his best to keep extending the gap, although It's going to be difficult considering his tyres are wearing a fair bit more than Carbon's. Perhaps Carbon now running in the dirty air might be affected a bit more by that, but actually Carbon has dropped back a little bit. 1.2 seconds, that might be enough to run in a bit cleaner air. And that was quite an overtake though from King of Tort. Just see it again, completely from the outside perspective. Just going to the outside. There you saw the twitch from Carbon. Just had to leave him the space, otherwise it would have gone off. And now that Mercedes is looking very pacey indeed. There he is. On the straight again, King seems to be getting a little bit of an advantage. It was around 1.2 seconds, but the start of the lap now around 1.5 or 1.4. 1.4 and a half-ish. So it isn't like King is managing to get away from Carbon now that he's got in front. So Carbon could possibly come back to bite him. Although King again purple in sector 1. Impressive stuff. Nils, he's now around 12 seconds back from the leaders, but still doing a good job at the moment in third. Goes purple sector 1 again, so current sector 1 time mustn't be that great, as we have an off. That's Rhino. Rhino going off just after Sheen Curve. He might have had an incident here. Yep, took a bit too much curve, bit too much speed, and the incident has kept on going. The track not wide enough so that it's easy to make a recovery if you do make a mistake, because if you do try and correct it, about a second later you are on the other part of the grass, on the other side of the circuit, and that happens. The gap coming down a bit between King and Carbon. Now 1.3 as they come across the line. So Carbon finding a bit more pace, starting to reel him in. Perhaps a bit of a measured pace from the Irishman. Just hanging back, not really using his tyres that much. You can see he's not using anywhere near as much of the exit curb as King was. So at the moment he's just relying on King wearing his tyres out and sticking with him from there. Still got a 10.6 second gap down to Nils, which is quite impressive. In fourth at the moment, it's the other Scuderia Nuke Shoddy car of Wybear. Last lap was a 124.605. Ferrari again, that fantastic V8 scream as they make their way down the back straight and into the forest section. Actually, Brandon seems to be catching up to Wybear a little bit now. So Brandon not out of this just yet. I might be wrong. Brandon qualified ahead of Wybear, didn't they? So those positions must have changed if that is the case. I do have a memory of a sieve, I have said on multiple occasions. The gap closing down again. Getting close to that 7/10 margin, so Carbon perhaps sensing this is his chance to make a charge. He's got within that 7/10 and he's going to be charging down the straight, not anywhere near close enough to challenge going into here. Won't, oh, bit of a twitch from King. He's lost momentum. I don't think Carbon will be able to pull off the same move that King did though. Didn't lose too much. On board you can really sense the pressure that Carbon's putting on King. the intensity of the whole situation. Was that BMW able to follow closer than the Mercedes was able to? The Merc perhaps suffering on the tyres a little bit more. Again, just use a little bit of extra punch out the corners though, does the Grip Runners Motorsport machine up ahead. They're making their way down through Paddock Hill again. Carbon looking, perhaps just putting himself in the mirrors, but in case King broke early, would be down the inside for Druids. Graham Hill Bend coming up. Carbon not quite close enough on that occasion. Perhaps just lining himself up to be close enough coming onto the straight again. You see the marbles really building up. I don't quite think it's going to be enough again. We'll have to see. The race between 4th and 5th is starting to come alive a bit as well. Not quite as close as this current scrap at the moment. We'll keep track of that one. Oh, bit of a twitch from Carbon, was that? Yep. As he has dropped a little bit out of that slipstream. Oh, fantastic run for that final corner, although King's was better. Nearly gets up to that 7/10 again. King will be doing everything within his power to try and get out of that 7/10. Can't quite break it. Now the pressure really is starting to mount. Carbon again, closing up, going through Druids. King at the moment seems to be soaking up the pressure, but we have seen he has struggled at certain parts of the circuit. TireWearUpdate.com. Oh, you can see the difference. But can you feel the difference is the question. Oh, Carbon again putting himself in the mirrors. Very tactical war at the moment between these two. Going through the forest section again, extremely close stuff. And that is NS Rhino up ahead of Foxcatcher, who is being caught, ironically. Carbon again, closing in. Oh, bit of a slight slide, McGee, in the braking zone. Looks like King might be challenged going up towards Paddock Hill Bend. No, not quite. But it is coming down. And you gotta think maybe that McLaren will play a part here, although it looks like it's gone off. Yep, just staying out of the way. Fair play to Rhino for that. Also good to see that Rhino isn't lagging whatsoever. So a good thing their internet's fixed. Carbon, again, really close coming up to this straight. Oh, this has to be a run. Look at this, a bit of a poor exit from King. King holds the inside line.com. They're side by side going down the straight. Will Carbon be able to go on the outside? No. King manages to carry it round. Carbon had to back out of it. Perhaps if it was a last lap move, it'd be a little bit later on the brakes than that. But it is certainly a place that we have seen moves around the outside before, as that is Rhino just running a bit wide again at Sheen Curve. And again, the scrap still very much alive. Carbon really pushing now. He's looking to the inside near the pit wall. Again, taking a contrasting line. He's got down the inside of Paddock Hill, has he? No, not quite. King manages to go across the track. Played the defensive line. Carbon looking for a bit of a cutback, bit of a better exit. Oh, King has left the inside open, has he? Carbon couldn't quite take advantage of that. but good racecraft. Again, making the way up to the straight. Oh, bit of a twitch from the BMW, but nevertheless, they are in the slipstream. And very close as well. King doesn't defend. Oh, bit of a slide again from King. So he chose not to defend the inside line on that occasion, perhaps figuring out that Carbon wouldn't try and completely send it going through there. Meanwhile, this scrap's starting to come alive as well. Wybear and Brandon. Brandon, incidentally, getting into the slipstream range. Well, just about. That Mercedes, or Aston Martin rather, should be very strong on the straights. That is certainly coming down, so another fantastic scrap that we have to look forward to as this race continues to develop. Although saying that, Brandon takes a trip over the grass at Sheen Curve. Here's a replay of what just transpired. So Brandon carrying a bit too much speed. It's so easily done. We've seen it so many times from so many people, and that has caused them to drop back a little bit, but it showed that they did have the pace to catch up. So perhaps they'll catch up a bit later on in the race as well. Perhaps a bit of pit stop strategy, bit of an undercut might come into their favour as well. Wouldn't be the first time that Brandon's tried an undercut. Running right on the limit of the curb again, King of Torque. Our current race leader here at Brands Hatch. Last lap was a 1:23.316. Comes was a 1:23.601. And they are sort of tripping over each other a little bit. I feel like I'm tripping over my own words all the time. The arrows on the top right mini-map pretty much as one. They come across the line, that's how close they are. You gotta be thinking, we're approaching the halfway mark in the race. When will these guys come in to pit? It'd be interesting to see what the Ferraris behind do as well. They might try and get a bit of an undercut. As these guys are scrapping, they might benefit quite heavily from that. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, lads. Now that I've said that both of these are going to come into the pits, great. Coming again, right on the back of King. Rear wing cam. Not the greatest rear wing cam in the world, you can just about see that BMW behind. You also get a sense of the speed and the pressure as well from here. King taking a fair bit of that curb. Doing a good job at the moment, staying consistent. Carbon seems a lot more confident going through Sheen Curve than a lot of people. He's managing to get really close to the grass without quite clipping it. Interesting stuff. Although he does a little bit of rally crossing going through there. The final corner. Now heading up to start lap 21. As I am continuing to die throughout this series, my throat is anyway. Another little interesting development, I believe. Oh no, that's a Rhino being lapped. Right, I thought it was close on track, but still interesting to see. Of course, Rhino down in 6th, Brandon 5th. Still might scrap it out for a bit, we'll have to see. Carbon in the slipstream still. It's going to be a bit of a running theme throughout this one, I think. Because being in the slipstream can't quite get close enough. King running a bit wide on exit. That's going to cost them a bit of time. So the tyres really starting to show their lack of grip at this point. You can see the kind of speeds that they're carrying through corners like Sheen, around 100 miles an hour. Carbon again all over the back of him like a bad rash. mean, look at the difference in terms of tyre wear between these two. Carbon's so much more efficient on the rubber than his former teammate. Carbon, are they looking to go down the inside here? It's close, can't quite find the momentum, but very, very close. Again, some of these camera shots be tricking me, thinking cars are alongside when they're like a couple meters back. But nevertheless, that certainly seemed to be the closest that Carbon got for quite a while. He's actually dropped back out of slipstream range. Will he be able to get back within it for the straight? Yes, yes he will. So, still sticking with him. Gonna have to regroup. Needs to rethink. It's a case of Carbon makes a move, drops back, then regathers himself to prepare himself for the next move until one eventually works. We're about halfway through this race. The maths have worked out quite well actually, because we're also around 30 minutes through this race. Carbon again on the back of him. Oh, and both coming into the pits. Now this is interesting. Neither's going to have an advantage. Could be an overtake in the pits, depending on if fuel is taken by either car. Watching the Grip Rose Motorsport team, no fuel for them, no fuel for Carbon either, and it's pretty much as you were. Both of these guys managing to get out ahead of Nils, who hasn't stopped yet. Main thing, the pit stop has benefited King a bit, because he's now got a 1.5 second gap, although a little bit slow through Druids. Why they're going into the pits, followed closely by Brandon. So the Scooter and Nuke Shoddy team doing well. Actually, why they must be still using the PlayStation racing suits that we had back in NES Season 4 for that pit crew. Interesting. Brandon exiting the pits as well. I'm quite intrigued actually. I need to see, is there any fuel being added to Brandon's car? Yes, 7 litres of fuel were added to Brandon's car. So that means that, of course, he'd have dropped back a little bit, but should be able to push a bit more. Now he has got that extra bit of fuel. Won't have to worry about fuel saving later on in the race. What on earth has happened to... What's going on here? Brandon 4th, Rhino 5th, despite being on lap 22 and Y-Bear being on lap 23. Okay, as these guys come across the start-finish line, that should correct itself, but Y-Bear and Brandon are close together on track as we see. Nils is coming into the pits, they're the last to make their pit stop. And it looks like Nils has been caught by Rhino. So Rhino managing to get ahead again to unlap himself from Nils. Blue flags being waved though, and there you see on the outside, able to make it stick, and indeed, Wyvern, as they came across the timing line, does indeed go there. There's an off! There is an off, and that is Rhino. Just as we cut away from him, we're gonna have to see a replay of this. So shortly after he let Nils go, it's just a case of trying to carry a bit too much speed. Yep. Disappears off camera shot. That is going to be quite major damage for the American, so unfortunate to see. That McLaren's still getting the better of him at the moment. He's still yet to pay me that 30 quid that I offered for a setup. As actually, scrap up here for the lead, I just noticed, got a lot closer than it had for a while. Carbon again, getting to the point where he's on a bit of a charge. He's only got a certain amount of opportunities to do it though. Now, will at the end of the straight be one? I don't quite think he's close enough in terms of slipstream. Not on this occasion, no. Rhino into the pits to repair that damage then. These two still squabbling away. Oh, apparently hearing from Rhino's team radio that the car's actually alright, it's just slow. Apparently, but it's not been giving him as much trouble as it has at some of the other circuits. You should still pay me that 30 quid though, I'm just saying. Like, whether you get a setup or not with it, just pay me 30 quid, I need cash. Carbon still got King tied on with a piece of string. Again, the Mercedes seems to be a bit faster through the first section than that. It's the BMW stronger through the latter stages. And slipstream certainly helping again, won't be anywhere near close enough to make a move through there. Again, car's a little bit shaky going through that high-speed right-hander. Then all of the angular kinks with such elevation change. You can really get a sense of the elevation change here from this particular onboard camera shot, making the way through the forest section. Bit of dust kicked up by King. Oh, that could have been very dangerous for King, because if you do get two wheels completely over that grass, it will suck you to the outside, and that can be game over right then and there. Carbon, oh, again the camera's fooling me again. And here's a scrap. Here we actually see Brandon managing to get up the inside of Wybe. There's a little bit of contact between the two. Brandon manages to get the move to stick. We're gonna see a replay of this one from a little bit earlier. There you see, so Brandon just with an absolutely monstrous exit manages to psych Wybe out to go to the outside, in down the inside. A bit of contact, but the racing room was there. And that's Brandon up into fourth with a fantastic overtake, it has to be said. Although, look at this Wybe trying to go on the outside, going through the Indy section. Oh, clips the grass, and the oversteer kicked in. That'll be that run over, but he's still in the slipstream. That Ferrari might be a bit slippery on the straights, and especially in slipstream. Be interesting to see how well it follows a car. Again, we will keep track of the lead battle as well as it develops, but at the moment this seems to be a smidge more interesting. We've seen a lot of the leaders already. Wybe trying his best to stick with the Aston Martin of Hyper Sport, Hyper Racing, whatever they're called these days. No longer with Alfa Romeo, of course, like they were in the Super Formula Championship. It looks like Brandon's actually managing to gap Wybe a little bit. Still personal best first sector by Wybe though, so Brandon can't quite escape yet. They've broken the slipstream, which is intriguing to see. The Aston Martin's strong in the straights. Ferrari's more of a cornering machine, but perhaps struggling a bit with some of the curbs. Can be a bit of a twitchy car to drive at times. Quite a few of the mid-engine ones are. And the gap is starting to extend a bit more. Yeah, that Ferrari can't quite follow as well as the Aston Martin did earlier. Keep track of that a bit later on. I'm back to the lead scrap. Carbon and King still going at it onto the straight. Carbon, I don't quite think close enough to make a move on this one. Marshall's there just standing around minding their own business. On board again with Dynamic Carbon. Gonna get the speed up here, see what kind of pace they're running through Shinko. Drop to 97. Purple through that last sector crossing, now heading up towards the Indy circuit and about to come across the line. There's the Foxcatcher McLaren up ahead of these guys as well. Again. So I think they'll catch them a bit later in the lap than the Druids happen. Carbon again, bit more curb on exit. Oh, looking with a much tighter line through there. Again, up on the curbs again, blue flags being shown. On Earth, and there's a cone that goes randomly through the screen. Alright, everyone seemed to have a bit of a lag fit there. That's probably on my end, so I do apologise for that, but that certainly got my heart rate up. Oh, that was very interesting and tactical there, as that was well, maybe that was a replay from a while back. It did seem that Rhino, who was actually laying the guys through, sort of blocking a lane by doing so. King taking full tactical advantage of that, sticking to that outside line, and Carbon, who did have a bit of a run, not able to pass. So good use of the traffic by King of Torque. Carbon played a little bit through there. A good strategy again by King of Torque. Nearly broke the slipstream again. Gaps coming down. Going back up again. Nils pretty much on an island by himself. Here he is in third. Just needs to keep up that kind of pace, and it should be yet another podium for the German. Has had his fair share in the championship so far, including, I believe it was the second place last time out at Catalonia. Might need to double check that. I believe that's what it said on the thread. Yes, that it was. It was a second place for Nils at round 4. So interesting to see how the car's actually been as the battle for first again closes up. Ferraris really just haven't had any pace here compared to the front engine cars. It seems to be a bit more of a front engine car circuit with the likes of the BMW and the Mercedes doing a lot better than Nils and the Ferrari. We've seen Nils is certainly able to mix it up with these guys in terms of pace, as Rhino has disconnected from the lobby, so unfortunate to see, but it's good on them for at least starting the race and trying to do their best. Their connection held out for quite a while considering the issues they were having at the start, but their time has come, unfortunately. Can we have some Fs in the chat for Foxcatcher Racing and their their driver Rhino. Sad times. Now this is pretty much the only scrap going off at the moment, as Brandon continues to extend their gap over Wybear. They see Jack Wilkinson again, one of his many clones. Nearly 3 seconds is the gap there, so Brandon doing a very good job against the quite established Nuke Shot Motorsport driver, of course driving for Scuderia Nuke Shotty here, of Wybear. We know Wybear's pace from the NES, at least I do. It is quite impressive. He did get a few AM split wins last season, so to be seeing Brandon doing as well as that is quite impressive stuff. So around 10 laps to go, just over, around 10 and a half. It is currently King of Torque leading, but not by much. They're in first place with Dynamic Carbon, their ex-teammate, in second. It is Nilsman currently on the final step of the podium in third for Scuderia Nuke Shotty. Brandon, the first race in the DRL GT Championship for them after ditching me in the commentator's booth for Hyper Racing, or Hyper Sport rather, Hyper Sport TF Aston Martin, or something along those lines. They're in fourth, and Wybear around 2.7 seconds, 2.8 seconds behind them. We'll be hoping the tyre advantage comes back their way later on in the race. They are setting personal bests at the moment, so we'll have to see. Again, Rhino in the chats proving that he cannot spell to save his life, as King of Torque had a little bit of a mistake entering the Druid's hairpin, trying to take a little bit too much width on the corner entry. Very lucky that he managed to get away with that mistake without Carbon capitalizing, especially with how close Carbon has been consistently. I was going to say constantly, but consistently was the word that came out. Either one of those could apply. Still charging their way around this former host of the British Grand Prix here at Brands Hatch, the GP circuit. Proper old school circuit, this one, going through Sheen Curve again. Both of these guys showing their mettle. Nice amount of use of the curb on exit as well. Absolutely fantastic weather as well. Pretty much reflects what we've been having in the UK in real life recently. Temperatures of around 37 degrees in some places, which for UK standards, in case any of you viewers are not from the UK, which is quite possible, especially in Rhino's case, the UK is doing well for summer if we get into around 22-23 degrees Celsius. So with it around 37 in some places, it's absurd. And our houses are not built with air conditioning or such. They're designed to keep the heat in for winter and such. So it is quite a sweatbox. Maybe that's also why Brandon has decided to ditch me in the commentary booth. It's been absolutely sweltering. It's fine at the moment. Here's the last couple days. 0.5 second penalty for Dynamic Carbon. I'll see if I can find where that was. It looks like it must have been coming up through one of these. Here, I'm gonna assume it's this one. Yeah, it was. So that's going to hamper their chances a bit. In fact, that has dropped them back by 2.3 seconds. Now I'd be quite intrigued to actually see. Yeah, it's right on the limit of getting away with it or not getting away with it. but the game has not chosen to be in his favour. King of Torque, currently holder of the best lap with a 122.098. If only they had that kind of pace in qualifying. They couldn't even break into the 122s at all. It was a 123.0 from them in qualifying, but now showing that they have the pace in the race. Carbon reeling them in after serving their penalty in these closing laps. Look at that, now they're in clean air. Carbon absolutely mincing the track at the moment. On track for a 121, the first we've seen here. Car 24 looking extremely strong, making their way up through Sheen Curve again. And they've dropped back a little bit on the purple time through that section. Nevertheless, Carbon continuing to gain on King of Torque of Grip Runners Motorsport. So Dynamic Esports not out of the question just yet for the overall race, when in fact Carbon does set the new purple lap time of a 122.092, only 6/10 faster than what King set. And Rhino, if you don't need to spell, can you at least grammar or punctuate? Punctuate's the word I'm looking for. There's a apostrophe between the N and the T, and don't. You're such a disappointment. Just in general. Nah, I'm kidding. Everyone's a fan of Rhino here on DRL. So around 6-ish laps to go. Carbon looking like they might have cut Sheen Curve a little bit. The game allowing them to get away with it, so it must have been okay. And this is looking like it's going to be another one of their chargers, actually. We're going on board with Dynamic Carbon. There they are. Last lap was a 122.092, of course the fastest of this race. They're looking... King can't quite cover the whole of the inside line, but it's very difficult and very awkward to try and make a move stick going through Paddock Hill Bend. Carbon can't quite get late on the brakes enough to pull up alongside King, but King did leave the space in case he did. There you go, I think. Was that Carbon's last major opportunity of this one? They are running out of laps. There's still quite a few to go though, but we have seen a tendency of him catching, then after he's had a couple attempts, backing off. It's much like the situation in Formula 1 where when a car gets close enough for an overtake, if they can't quite make it stick, they do have to drop back due to overheating issues and such. Maybe that's what we're seeing from the BMW M6 of Carbon right now, overheating issues. Oh, look how close he managed to get to the grass on the exit of Sheen Curve. That could have gone so badly wrong, but Carbon really showing his commitment to this. Rounding the final corner and heading up towards the start-finish line to start lap 39. The gap is indeed increasing a bit, so my theory seems to be correct, although Carbon gains a fair bit of time with the downforce of the BMW going through Paddock Hill Bend. Oh, bit of a slide from King of Torque was that. As they make their way up, there you can see both of them with Jack Wilkinson laid down on the floor for that camera shot. He wasn't ran over on that occasion. Hashtag save the Wilkinsons. I don't know. There's a shop in the UK called Wilkinson's. Funny fun fact. I don't know what on earth I'm doing on this stream anymore. Carbon, why on earth do you employ me to do this? Employ, very loose term, by the way, inverted commas on that. Again, going through the forest section, can't quite get up alongside. Although that's a lot better exit from Carbon, it looks like. Going on to the straight and making the way up to the final corner on the Indy loop. Will Carbon be able to do anything here? Rear wing cam on King of Torque's car, here it is. You can just about make out BMW's snout in the braking zones as Carbon closes up nicely. King of Torque really soaking up the pressure well, compared to what we saw in qualifying, the amount of off-track excursions and such. And it's been a very solid drive from him, especially in this last half of the race. Pretty much just been keeping Carbon at bay. Carbon slowly tighter exit, looking to get a little bit of a better run. And he's certainly going to be trying it to make their way down. He's just about got to the inside as he has to brake earlier as King of Torque fights the car on entry but manages to get it round, wrestles it round the corner. Machine curve again. Both of these guys looking a bit confident through here. And again, Carbon not dropping back on this occasion. He's sticking with him. So perhaps just going all out attack to the end at this point. Does as much tyre saving as he can. He's trying the outside line actually. Can't quite get it to work. King slots out ahead. Has to duck back into the slipstream. Going through Paddock Hill. Thanks Josh for the compliment. Not often I actually get compliments for this sort of stuff. It's normally people saying do better. Carbon can't quite find his way through Druids. Let's monitor the tyres as well. There's not much in it, but Kings are more worn. King will be continuing to feel the pressure. 40 laps down. Around 2.5 to go. Carbon finally manages to get up alongside in these closing stages. A little bit of onion barges down the straight. Carbon has to back out of it. Won't completely risk life and limb at this point. Still a couple laps to go on the board. Through the forest section they go again, absolutely charging through. Okay, no one taking any risks going through Sheen Curve on that occasion. Carbon is throwing absolutely everything at it at this point. You can tell by the car's body language. He stopped dropping back after his challenges. Of course, Rhino, of course. You probably would have, to be fair. You should probably ask Carbon and see if you can get involved with this. As Carbon goes down the inside of Paddock Hill Bend, overcooks it and that allows King to get back up the inside. So just Carbon sending it a bit too much and couldn't quite hold on to it. We're gonna see if we can get a replay of this. There you see it, Carbon desperate in order to get the car stopped ahead. King of Torque plays the cutback beautifully and retains first place. 2 laps to go, around 1.5 actually. They're making their way onto the straight again. Here is on board with Dynamic Carbon. You can see all over the bumper again. He's got down the inside. Is going to be side by side through here. King just about manages to hold on. Good respect between both of those. Carbon could have so easily took King out with that, but didn't. Charging their way through Sheen again. Oh, King getting very close to the edge, but just about holding on. It's an absolute climax for the ages again. 2 rivals. Former teammates, different teams now. And it's coming down to the final lap here at Brands Hatch on the GP circuit. King goes defensive to the inside. Carbon's going to try and hang it around the outside. Can't quite get it to work. Going to have a bit of a cutback themselves this time. Losing my voice a bit. Carbon's down the inside. King's going to try and hang it round. Carbon, oh, there's contact a little bit. They're still side by side going through Graham Hill Bend. And it is King of Torque who just about manages to stay in front. You got to think though, with the tyre advantage, Carbon, once he gets ahead, might be able to keep it. King taking a tighter line, going through there onto the back straight. Carbon is going to have a run through here, no questions asked. What's King going to be able to do? King decides to go for the outside line.com. Oh, there's contact between the two, and that's King that's gone off. King's gone off. King has gone round from the contact. Unbelievable scenes. I mentioned a lap before. Here's an onboard of King's perspective with this. Everything just happened all at once. There's the contact. Span around, no damage, but that is pretty much race over. Unfortunately, it's Dynamic Carbon who will be taking the checkered flag in this one. Or will he? He's slowing down. He sportingly lets King of Torque take the victory after the contact. So, fair play to Carbon for that, resolving it on track rather than allowing the stewards to sort it out. It is King of Torque who is our race winner here today at Brands Hatch. His home race. What a way to win it. Dynamic Carbon has to settle for second, or doesn't have to settle for second, but chose the sporting route. Fair play to them for that. They keep the fastest lap of the race. They were 122.092. It is Nilsman who does indeed come home for third place with Scuderia Nukshotti. Good result for them. Again, a circuit that the Ferraris weren't particularly suited for. Brandon, on their debut for this particular championship, they come home in 4th. And Wybet down in 5th. But after a fantastic final few laps and such with a battle that lasted pretty much throughout the whole race, it is King of Torque standing on the top step of the podium here today at Brands Hatch. What a race that was. I'm saving the replay before I forget. That was quite an interesting little bit there that we saw. Here are your final confirmed results. As you can see, King of Torque with the win. 1.168 seconds in the end of things. However, you've got to keep in mind that was because Carbon came to a dead stop on the line. So again, sporting from Carbon to do that. A good scrap between both of those throughout the race nonetheless. Nilsman 22 seconds back, nearly 23 seconds back. So the Ferraris really had no pace here today. They'll be hoping to do a lot better in future rounds. I believe they still will be top of the Constructors' Championship, or the Teams' Championship rather, with a 3rd and 5th result. The only team with 2 cars at the moment still here, so that's only been to their advantage. And Brandon managing to finish ahead of Wyber. Wyber is a Pro Split NES driver for this upcoming season, Season 5, so considering Brandon is AM Split, top end of AM Split, mind you, that is a very impressive result for him, getting 4th, and with around 5 seconds margin as well. Carbon, it was taking the fastest lap of the race, 122.092. That's a fair bit faster than he was in qualifying as well. A few tenths there. That was set on lap 36. Yes, interviews will be coming up shortly. I will set up a party chat. Again, if you have enjoyed the stream so far and such, and enjoyed the racing in particular, be sure to leave a like. It does help the channel, I think. Have to ask Carbon about that. We'll actually get both of them in at the same time, I think, just to speed up the process. This will be the first time, I believe, that they've talked to each other after that incident, unless they were in... I doubt they'd be in a team radio, because different teams, but who knows? Who knows? Alright, King of Torque has joined us here. Race winner. Yes, I've sent the invite to him as well. He should be joining shortly. First of all, I guess, congratulations on that race win. It was, I mean, of course, you didn't qualify that particularly well, but you managed to get the win in the end.
Yeah, well, I got a little bit unnerved in qualifying, is I think the word, and I couldn't nail a lap. Like, I'd be really quick through one sector and then I'd mess up the next. But in the race, I seemed to get a bit more consistent and I managed to get some good pace. Carbon beat my lap time by I think 6 thousandths of a second or something it was.
Yep, that's what it was.
Yeah, definitely had the pace in the race which is where it counts, you know. But very sporting from Carbon to let me back through. I'm not sure it was 100% his fault, if I'm honest, but yeah, very sporting of him to let me through. So cheers for that, Carbon.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a scrap that lasted pretty much throughout the whole race. Of course, you and Carbon, back when you were teammates, was quite well known on the channel for the scraps that you had. There's some fantastic battles. Autopolis comes to mind in particular, DTM last season. Of course, there was a certain incident with that was looked over. Of course, what's it actually like now with the dynamic, pun intended, of you racing with a different team now with Grip Runners Motorsport and still with Carbon as your rival?
You know what? It's actually good because it just shows that it's not all the machine. If you know what I mean, it's not all the BMW because we're both very evenly matched on pace now, I think. So I think no matter what cars we'd be in, we'd be fighting with each other. So it's really good to race with him, and obviously it's good for the stream as well. They get to see some action, and it's good for you because you have something to talk about.
Yeah, I know, it's fantastic.
But yeah, it is good.
Just quickly messaging Carbon, see if we can get him to finally show up. Of course, congratulations on that race win. That incident, as you mentioned, an interesting one, but Carbon choosing to be a sportsman about it, which fair play to him for that.
Yeah, it was a bit, I'd say it was more like 50-50. I wouldn't really say it was any driver's fault. Obviously, we'd both been going for moves through there, and yeah, he stuck his nose up the inside. He was far enough alongside. I tried to leave him room, and then I think he went wide a little bit because he touched the inside grass, and I came in a little bit. So I think it was just a racing incident, but you know, it is what it is. He decided to let me through, so thank you again to Gordon for that.
What should that be the moment of the championship that he loses by 1 point or something?
Don't jinx the poor guy. He's done 3 seasons now.
That's a fair point. Carbon is long due a championship in his own series, much like myself, to be fair, in the NES. But
what?
Yeah.
What even is NES?
You've never heard it? Oh, this is where I can insert an advert.
Yeah,
I
this
guess
is where you
midstream.
get your plug.
Yes. Yep. Well, in case you haven't seen, over on Half the Race Gone, another streaming, racing streaming channel over there. We have a series over there called the Nuke Shot Endurance Series. It's ran by myself. It features LMP and GT3 multi-class. There's 16, well, actually 14 cars on track at the moment. Around 8 GT3s and 6 LMPs and 2 lobbies, so pro and am split of those, so we have quite a lot of entries in that sense. It's great banter. You should definitely check that out. Of course, leave a like over here though. Be sure to subscribe and Half the Race Gone as well. Carbon, we finally have you here. Of course, a very interesting scrap, it has to be said. After qualifying, you certainly looked to have the pace over pretty much anyone. Would you say that you was quite confident after even seeing the eventual winner of the race, King of Torque, a fair bit off the pace compared to you?
I was definitely surprised by it. Like, I think it didn't even get into a 22, so I was kind of shown off a bit. But then Roland obviously cut the start second, so I knew it was going to be close. And then first few laps, I knew he was sticking behind me, so I knew he must have found a bit of pace.
Yeah, of course. I mentioned Roland. If they were actually able to race, you think that it could have been a three-way scrap for the lead? Because Roland seems to have improved quite a lot since the Super Formula Championship, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think definitely, but it would have been tight because Brands isn't really a wide track.
That's
So
a
it
fair
would have been
point.
close, definitely, yeah.
I don't think 3-ride would have worked into turn 2.
I don't think there's any point in the track apart from the straight, really.
Yeah.
True. It was
Crash gate.
Gate, fantastic. Well, of course, it was a great scrap between both of you and the end of things. So, Carbon, your perspective. Actually, going back to King of Talk's overtake in the earliest stage of the race, around the outside, into one of the forest sections, Kings, were you expecting that kind of a move from such an unusual place that we hardly see any overtakes?
I would definitely not, especially since he was kind of on the earlier laps. He wasn't really like going max into there because I can see in qualifying that I think he went off there a few times. So I didn't expect that at all. I think I broke a bit early, but that's how it is.
I carried a lot more speed after the straight through the right-hander, is what happened, and just got a massive run and saw you braked early, so I thought, may as well just try to go around the outside. I was amazed it actually stuck though. I thought you were gonna like, you know, actually keep the position, and I thought it was just like catching, if you know what I mean. I didn't think I'd be able to go for a move from it.
Yeah, either way, I think it definitely would have been close between us.
Yeah.
Of course, at one point in the race, in the last lap, I believe it was, it got a little bit too close. Interesting though to see Carmen, despite that incident, Kings actually said he personally thought it was around 50-50, but you doing the gentlemanly thing, waiting on the line. Your thoughts on that in particular?
Well, I watched the back on the stream just after the race, and it was definitely I wasn't even alongside, so he didn't have to give me any room. It was my fault.
Oh,
Definitely.
right, okay. Well, I haven't actually seen the stream yet because I've left it on pause.
Wow,
just so I could watch the incident.
Thanks so much.
No, it's just so I could watch the incident. It's paused on the last lap.
Oh,
if you say it's your fault, then that's fair enough. But from my perspective, it seemed like it was a bit 50-50. I thought you might have touched the inside grass and I turned in a bit, but if you know what I mean.
There was no room for my car there at all.
Ah, okay. Well, thank you very much for letting me through, Carbon. Appreciate that.
Always actually very sporting to see this kind of stuff in motorsport. Good to see that it's actually been resolved on the track rather than having to go to the stewards, because it of course makes my job easier in that sense as well. I'm already not on any sort of wage. Carbon, you need to sort that out. Thanks to both of you guys for being here, of course, putting on for a fantastic display for all the viewers that we've had, all three of them, one of them being me. One
of them's me as well.
Was the other one Carbon? It's only us three that were watching the stream this whole time. Fantastic.
Yeah.
But can I ask you one more question, Carbon?
No,
Do you know when we went into the pits, because you followed me into the pits, didn't you?
Yeah.
Like, did I cross a line?
No.
Yes! But what happened in the pits? Did you forget to press the button or something? Because I went in, it was like just in front of you, and came out, I was like a second and a half in front of you.
I just think I was kind of slow turning because I didn't want to hit the barrier, because like I was gonna win that lap anyway, even if you came in. I was trying to get the undercut. I seen you come in, and I was like, well, it's too late to bail because I crossed the line. And then, yeah.
Yeah, well, fair enough. Brilliant race, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Side by side for 43 laps.
It's absolutely fantastic stuff to see. Fantastic stuff to commentate on as well. Rhino in chat has just informed me that we had a maximum of 9 viewers at one point, so that's something positive, I guess. Not quite hitting 10, although YBears just said +1, so I guess that does make 10. Solid stuff. Of course, thanks to both of you guys for putting on a fantastic show. Hope to see you in a week's time. I believe the next race is in a week's time, right? No break? or anything?
Would you know what track it is?
Oh.
No.
Great, even
I
the
should
series
know.
organizer doesn't know.
Yeah, I know.
Please be Suzuka. Please be Suzuka.
Oh boy, you like
I know
your
there's a
chicanes?
but like, the reset's next race, I know that.
You like your chicanes?
Is
It's
it?
Dragon Trail.
Oh, okay. Wait, we're back to Dragon Trail?
Apparently,
Didn't we just
according
do
to the
that?
thread. We haven't raced it this season. Yet.
Yeah, not this season, no.
Oh, right. I thought we'd just done Dragon Trail.
No, Dragon Trail. We did Catalunya for round 4 last time out.
Yeah, I think I swapped them around.
Oh,
Was it?
right. Changes that we haven't
think-
been
Oh, it
informed
must have
of.
been. It must have been from DTM then.
Yeah,
I'm
you're probably
thinking.
remembering DTM. So, again,
Okay,
another
well, I look
track.
forward to seeing you at Dragon Trail, Carvin, in my rearview mirror.
Definitely not.
Ah, dear. Great banter.
Like,
It
I'm
really
1%
is.
less ballast, so hopefully that gives me like an extra 10,000 horsepower.
So where's... does the reset happen after next race, or...?
It happens after this race, but the ballast from this race still carries over, so it'll be like ballast from round 1 to 4 gets wiped, and then we carry the ballast from this race. So the only ballast you'll have next race is +3, Adam +2, Nils says +1, and then that's it.
Ah,
Starts again.
okay.
Yeah.
Ah, that's sweet.
Alright, good
Bring
chat,
home
lads.
the NA victory.
I will actually have to, unfortunately, end the stream off now. Of course, we have been running for quite a while, but good to catch up with both of you again. King, it's quite a regular weekly occurrence, but Carbon as well, good to speak to you. And yeah, wish you both all the best for the future of the season. This has been Dynamic Racing Leagues, the GT Championship, round 5 at Brands Hatch. We hope you've all enjoyed watching this round here today. Of course, leave a like, subscribe if you are new, and we hope to see you next time out in Croatia in a week's time. Until then, I have been Zokio.
Is this where we're gonna say we've been told?
Yeah. That's the way to pronunciation.
Okay, that has been those two peasants, I guess.
Yeah.
Series organizer and reigning champion. And yeah, of course, we hope to see you next time out in Croatia. Until then, bye, folks.
Take care, everyone.
See you.